Alas, are there so few things in the world about us, most unnatural, and yet most natural in being so? Here the magistrate or judge admonish the unnatural outcasts of society, unnatural in brutal habits, unnatural in want of decency, unnatural in losing and confounding all distinctions between good and evil, unnatural in ignorance, in vice, in recklessness, in contumacy, in mind, in looks, in everything. But follow the good clergyman or doctor, who, with his life imperilled at every breath he draws, goes down into their dens, lying within the echoes of our carriage wheels and daily tread upon the pavement stones. Look round upon the world of odious sights. Millions of immortal creatures have no other world on earth, at the lightest mention of which humanity revolts, and dainty delicacy, living in the next street, stops her ears and lisps, "I don't believe it." Breathe the polluted air, foul with every impurity that is poisonous to health and life, and have every sense conferred upon our race for its delight and happiness offended, sickened, and disgusted, and made a channel by which misery and death alone can enter. Vainly attempt to think of any simple plant or flower or wholesome weed that set in this fetid bed could have its natural growth, or put its little leaves off to the sun as God designed it, and then, calling up some ghastly child with stunted form and wicked face, hold forth on its unnatural sinfulness, and lament its being so early far away from heaven, but think a little of its having been conceived and born and bred in hell. Those who study the physical sciences and bring them to bear upon the health of man tell us that if the noxious particles that rise from vitiated air were palpable to the sight, we should see them lowering in a dense black cloud above such haunts, and rolling slowly on to corrupt the better portions of a town. But if the moral pestilence that rises with them, and in the eternal laws of outraged nature is inseparable from them, could be made discernible too, how terrible the revelation! Then should we see depravity, impiety, drunkenness, theft, murder, and a long train of nameless sins against the natural affections and repulsions of mankind, overhanging the devoted spots, and creeping on to blight the innocent and spread contagion among the pure. Then should we see how the same poisoned fountains that flow into our hospitals and lazar houses inundate the jails and make the convict ships swim deep, and roll across the seas and overrun vast continents with crime. Then should we stand appalled to know that where we generate disease to strike our children down and entail itself on unborn generations, there also we breed by the same certain process infancy that knows no innocence, youth without modesty or shame, maturity that is mature in nothing but in suffering and guilt, blasted old age that is a scandal on the form we bear, unnatural humanity. When we shall gather grapes from thorns and figs from thistles, when fields of grain shall spring up from the offal in the byways of our wicked cities, and roses bloom in the fat churchyards that they cherish, then we may look for natural humanity, and find it growing from such seed. Oh, for a good spirit who would take the housetops off with a more potent and benignant hand than the lame demon in the tale, and show a Christian people what dark shapes issue from amidst their homes, to swell the retinue of the destroying angel as he moves forth among them. For only one night's view of the pale phantoms rising from the scenes of our too long neglect, and from the thick and sullen air where vice and fever propagate together, raining the tremendous social retributions which are ever pouring down and ever coming thicker. Bright and blessed the morning that should rise on such a night. For men, delayed no more by stumbling blocks of their own making, which are but specks of dust upon the path between them and eternity, would then apply themselves, like creatures of one common origin, owing one duty to the father of one family, and tending to one common end, to make the world a better place. Not the less bright and blessed would that day be for rousing some who never have looked out upon the world of human life around them to a knowledge of their own relation to it, and for making them acquainted with a perversion of nature in their own contracted sympathies and estimates, as great and yet as natural in its development when once begun as the lowest degradation known.